Before we begin our journey together tonight, I would love for you to take a moment to subscribe to this channel if you are enjoying these peaceful bedtime stories. And please give this video a gentle like if it helps you find the rest you are seeking. I would also love to connect with our beautiful community of dreamers from around the world. So please leave a comment below telling me where you are watching from and what time it is in your corner of the world right now. There is something magical about knowing that we are all sharing this moment of peace together, no matter how far apart we may be geographically. Now, let yourself sink deeper into your most comfortable position, whether you are nestled beneath soft blankets in your bed or curled up in your favorite chair. Feel the weight of your body being supported completely, and allow your breathing to slow naturally as you prepare to embark on a journey back through time to the ancient lands of the North. Feel the gentle warmth that surrounds you right now, the safety of your space, and imagine that this warmth will carry you through our story tonight, wrapping around you like the softest woolen cloak, as we explore how the brave Vikings of long ago mastered the art of staying warm during the most brutal winters their harsh lands could conjure. Our story tonight begins in the rolling hills and dense forests of 9th century Scandinavia, where the autumn winds are already carrying whispers of the long winter to come. The Vikings were masters at overcoming long, dark winters in some of the coldest habitable regions on Earth, and tonight we will discover their secrets together. Picture yourself standing on a hillside overlooking a small Viking settlement, where smoke rises in gentle spirals from the chimneys of sturdy longhouses built from thick timber and stone. The air is crisp and clean, carrying the scent of burning wood and the distant aroma of hearty stews simmering over open fires. You can hear the soft murmur of voices carried on the breeze, the gentle lowing of cattle, and the rhythmic sound of axes splitting firewood in preparation for the months ahead. In this peaceful settlement lives a family whose story we will follow through the dark months of winter, learning how they not only survived but thrived in conditions that would challenge even the hardiest of souls today. The family consists of Eric, a skilled craftsman and farmer, his wife Astrid, whose weaving skills are renowned throughout the region, and their 3 children who range in age from barely walking to nearly grown. Their longhouse stands proudly at the center of their small homestead, its walls thick with timber and its roof heavy with turf that will soon be blanketed in snow. Smoke drifts lazily from the central hearth, and you can almost feel the warmth that radiates from within as the family prepares for another winter in their ancestral homeland. As the first snowflakes begin to fall like tiny feathers from the darkening sky, Eric stands in his doorway, surveying the landscape that will soon be transformed into a pristine white wilderness. He breathes deeply, tasting the metallic sharpness of approaching snow on his tongue, and nods with satisfaction at the preparations he and his family have completed over the past months. Behind him, the longhouse glows with the warm light of oil lamps and the dancing flames of the central fire, while the sound of his children's laughter mingles with the gentle clicking of Astrid's loom as she works late into the evening. This is a scene of contentment and security, built upon generations of wisdom passed down about how to live in harmony with the harsh rhythms of the northern climate. The longhouse itself is a marvel of practical engineering, designed by ancestors who understood that survival in these lands required more than just shelter from the elements. The Vikings lived in heated, well-insulated, windowless long houses that sometimes housed their cattle, creating a shared warmth that sustain both human and animal life through the coldest months. The walls are constructed from massive timber beams, each one carefully selected and shaped to fit perfectly with its neighbors, creating an almost seamless barrier against the wind and cold. Between these beams, the spaces are filled with clay and straw, then covered with additional layers of wood, and finally sealed with animal fat that has been rendered down and mixed with pine resin to create a waterproof coating that keeps moisture from penetrating the living space within. The roof of the longhouse rises in a gentle curve, supported by enormous wooden rafters that seem to reach upward like the ribs of some great sleeping beast. Upon these rafters rests layer upon layer of birch bark, then sod that has been cut in thick sections from the hillsides, and finally a covering of turf that will grow green again in the spring, but now provides insulation that rivals the finest materials available today. This living roof breathes with the seasons, expanding and contracting slightly with temperature changes, but never losing its ability to keep the warmth in and the bitter cold outside where it belongs. On nights when the wind howls across the landscape like a pack of hungry wolves, the family sleeps peacefully within their cocoon of natural materials, as safe and warm as if they were nestled in the heart of a mountain. Within the longhouse, the central hearth serves as more than just a source of heat and light. It is the beating heart of the home, around which all life revolves during the long winter months. The fire pit is lined with carefully chosen stones that have been tested in smaller fires to ensure they will not crack or explode when exposed to intense heat. And around this pit, the entire family gathers for meals, storytelling, and the countless tasks that fill the winter days. The smoke from the fire rises naturally through a hole in the roof, but much of the heat is captured and held by the massive stones that line the hearth, continuing to radiate warmth long after the flames have died down to glowing embers. The arrangement of sleeping areas within the longhouse follows a careful plan that maximizes the distribution of heat while providing privacy and comfort for each family member. Along the walls, raised platforms serve as beds, each one carefully positioned to benefit from the warmth of the central fire while being elevated above the cold ground. These sleeping platforms are covered with layer upon layer of furs and woolen blankets, creating individual nests of warmth that trap body heat throughout the night. The Vikings stayed warm by wearing layered woolen clothing even while sleeping, understanding that maintaining body temperature was a constant requirement rather than something that could be left to chance. As the winter deepens and the days grow shorter, the family's daily routines adapt to the rhythm of the season in ways that conserve energy and maximize warmth. They rise later and retire earlier, following the natural cycle of light and darkness that governs all life in these northern latitudes. Morning begins not with a sudden awakening, but with a gradual emergence from sleep, as family members slowly add layers of clothing while still wrapped in their sleeping furs, allowing their bodies to adjust gradually to the cooler air of the longhouse. The fire is rebuilt from the carefully banked coals of the previous night, and soon the crackling of burning wood mingles with the soft sounds of the family beginning another day. Breakfast in the Viking household during winter is a hearty affair designed to provide the calories and nutrients needed to maintain body heat throughout the day ahead. The Vikings supplemented their regular diets with nutrient-rich foods like fish, honey, and mead that provided the energy needed to stay warm. Astrid moves quietly around the hearth, her movements economical and purposeful as she prepares a meal from ingredients that have been carefully preserved from the harvest season. A large iron pot hangs over the fire, suspended from a chain that can be adjusted to control how close the pot sits to the flames. And within this pot a rich stew simmers gently, filling the longhouse with aromas that speak of nourishment and comfort. The stew contains chunks of meat that were smoked and dried during the autumn slaughter, when the family made the difficult but necessary decision about which animals could be fed through the winter and which would become food for the dark months ahead. Salting and smoking were two primary methods used by Vikings to preserve meat and fish, techniques that not only prolonged the shelf life of food, but also added unique flavors. These pieces of preserved meat have been soaking overnight in warm broth, slowly rehydrating and releasing their concentrated flavors into the stew. Mixed with these are root vegetables that spent the autumn months stored in the underground cache beneath the longhouse, where the earth's natural temperature keeps them fresh but not frozen, providing essential vitamins during the months when fresh foods are scarce. The underground storage areas beneath and around the longhouse represent another crucial element of Viking winter survival. Spaces that remain at a constant temperature year-round due to the insulating properties of the earth itself. These cellars carved into the hillside or dug beneath the floor of the longhouse maintain temperatures that hover just above freezing, perfect for preserving foods that would spoil in warmer conditions but would be ruined by hard frost. Eric had spent many days during the late summer and early autumn digging and reinforcing these storage spaces, lining the walls with flat stones and covering the floors with layers of sand and gravel that would absorb moisture and prevent the growth of mold and rot. Within these cool, dark chambers, wooden shelves and clay vessels hold the bounty of the previous growing season, carefully organized and regularly checked to ensure that nothing spoils and threatens the family's food security. Large ceramic crocks contain vegetables that have been layered with salt, creating an environment where beneficial bacteria can work slowly to transform fresh produce into tangy, nutritious foods that will provide essential vitamins throughout the winter months. Other containers hold grains that have been dried to precise moisture levels, then sealed in wooden barrels with tight-fitting lids that keep out rodents and insects while allowing the contents to breathe just enough to prevent dangerous buildup of gases. The preservation of dairy products represents another area where Viking ingenuity shines, with techniques that transform the summer abundance of milk into forms that will sustain the family through months when the cows produce little or no milk at all. Astrid has spent countless hours during the warmer months perfecting her skills at cheese making, creating wheels of hard cheese that improve with age and wheels of softer cheese that provide variety in the winter diet. These cheeses hang in cloth bags from the rafters of the storage areas, slowly aging and developing complex flavors while remaining safe from spoilage due to the natural preservatives in the cheese-making process and the consistent cool temperatures of their storage environment. But perhaps the most important aspect of Viking food preservation lies in their mastery of fermentation, a process that not only extends the life of foods, but actually increases their nutritional value in ways that modern science is only beginning to understand. Large wooden vats contain vegetables that have been shredded and mixed with salt, then packed tightly and covered with weighted lids that exclude air, while allowing the slow process of fermentation to work its magic. Over the course of several weeks, beneficial bacteria transform the raw vegetables into foods that are rich in vitamins, easy to digest, and capable of lasting through even the longest winter without spoiling. The daily routine of tending these preserved foods becomes a meditative practice during the winter months, as family members take turns descending into the cool storage areas to check on their provisions and select ingredients for the day's meals. The temperature difference between the warm longhouse and the cool storage areas creates a refreshing contrast that invigorates the body and mind, while the familiar aromas of aging cheeses, fermenting vegetables, and stored grains provide a comforting reminder of the family's preparedness and security. These brief journeys into the storage areas also serve as opportunities for quiet reflection, moments of solitude in the midst of the close quarters of winter family life. The Vikings utilized passive solar heating where possible, positioning their homes to take advantage of the sun during the brief winter days. The longhouse that shelters Eric's family sits on a slight rise in the landscape, oriented so that its longest wall faces south toward the path the sun traces across the winter sky. While the windows are small and few, designed primarily to conserve heat rather than admit light, they are positioned strategically to capture and channel the maximum amount of solar energy during the precious hours when the sun appears above the horizon. The thick walls of the longhouse absorb this solar energy during the day, then slowly release it during the long hours of darkness, creating a gentle warming effect that supplements the heat from the central fire. The southern wall of the longhouse is also where the family has built their main entrance, protected by a small antechamber that serves as a buffer zone between the harsh outdoor environment and the warm interior of the home. This entrance chamber, barely large enough for one person to stand comfortably, features double doors that are never opened simultaneously, ensuring that cold air cannot rush directly into the living space. The floor of this antechamber is covered with thick mats woven from dried grasses, providing insulation from the frozen ground below, while offering a place to stamp snow from boots and shake ice from outer garments before entering the main living area. The design of Viking clothing represents another triumph of practical engineering, with garments that provide warmth through multiple principles of insulation, layering, and wind resistance. The Vikings developed sophisticated layering systems that trapped air between garments, creating insulation that could be adjusted throughout the day as activity levels and temperatures changed. The base layer, worn directly against the skin, is made from finely woven linen that wicks moisture away from the body while providing a smooth, comfortable surface that does not chafe or irritate during long periods of wear. This linen undergarment is loose-fitting enough to allow air circulation, but snug enough to trap a thin layer of warm air against the skin. Over this linen base, Viking men and women wore tunics made from wool that has been carefully processed to maintain its natural oils and water-resistant properties. The wool used for these garments comes from sheep that have been bred for centuries to survive in harsh northern climates, animals whose fleece naturally contains lanolin and other compounds that repel moisture while providing exceptional insulation. The spinning and weaving of this wool is done by hand using techniques that preserve the natural structure of the fibers, creating fabrics that are both warm and breathable, allowing moisture to escape while preventing the penetration of wind and rain. The outer layer of Viking winter clothing consists of heavily felted wool or treated leather garments that serve as the primary barrier against wind, snow, and freezing rain. These outer garments are cut generously to allow for the layers beneath, with sleeves that extend well beyond the wrists and hems that fall below the knees, ensuring that no part of the underlying clothing is exposed to the elements. The wool used for these outer garments has been felted through a process of controlled shrinkage that creates a dense, windproof fabric that maintains its insulating properties, even when wet, a crucial consideration in a climate where freezing rain and wet snow are common occurrences. The construction of Viking winter clothing pays careful attention to the areas where heat loss is most likely to occur, with special reinforcements and design features that address the body's most vulnerable points. Necklines are high and can be closed completely with leather lacings or wooden toggles, while hoods are large enough to protect the entire head and face when pulled forward. Sleeves are fitted with tight cuffs that can be secured around the wrists, preventing cold air from flowing up the arms, while the bottom edges of tunics and cloaks feature drawstrings that can be tightened to seal out drafts from below. These seemingly simple design elements make the difference between clothing that merely covers the body and clothing that actively maintains body temperature in extreme conditions. The Vikings also understood the critical importance of keeping the extremities warm, recognizing that heat loss through hands, feet, and head can quickly lead to dangerous drops in core body temperature. Winter mittens and gloves are crafted from multiple layers of materials, with an inner lining of soft fur or felted wool that traps air against the skin, a middle layer of tightly woven wool that provides additional insulation, and an outer shell of treated leather that repels moisture while allowing some degree of dexterity for essential tasks. These handwear items are often connected to the main garments with leather cords, ensuring that they cannot be lost in blowing snow or dropped accidentally during outdoor work. Footwear for Viking winters represents perhaps the most sophisticated aspect of their cold weather clothing technology, with boots and shoes that must provide warmth, waterproofing, and traction on ice and snow while remaining comfortable during long periods of wear. The foundation of Viking winter footwear is a sturdy leather sole that has been treated with natural oils and waxes to create a waterproof barrier between the foot and the frozen ground. Multiple layers of this treated leather are stitched together to create soles that are both flexible and durable, capable of withstanding the sharp ice and rough terrain of the winter landscape while providing some insulation from the cold that radiates up from the frozen earth. The upper portions of Viking winter boots are constructed from soft, supple leather that has been carefully tanned to maintain its flexibility even in freezing temperatures. These leather uppers extend well above the ankle, often reaching to mid-calf or even higher, providing protection from deep snow while allowing the wearer to move freely and comfortably. The seams where different pieces of leather are joined together are sealed with waterproof compounds made from pine pitch and animal fats, creating barriers that prevent moisture from seeping into the interior of the boot, where it could freeze and cause dangerous frostbite within the boots. Multiple layers of insulation work together to maintain foot warmth throughout even the longest and coldest winter days. The innermost layer consists of soft fur or wool that has been processed to remove any rough or irritating elements, creating a luxurious lining that feels comfortable against bare skin while providing excellent insulation. Over this, dried grasses, or moss are sometimes added to provide additional insulation and absorb moisture from perspiration, materials that can be easily replaced when they become damp or compressed from extended wear. The outermost interior layer is often a thin piece of soft leather that protects the other insulating materials while providing a smooth surface that allows the foot to move naturally within the boot. The process of creating these sophisticated winter garments begins months before the cold weather arrives, with the entire family participating in the long chain of activities that transform raw materials into finished clothing. During the late spring and early summer, when the sheep are sheared and their thick winter coats removed, the fleece is carefully sorted according to quality, with the finest wool reserved for undergarments and the coarser fibers designated for outer wear. Each fleece is examined fiber by fiber, with damaged or inferior sections removed and set aside for other uses, while the premium wool is washed repeatedly in warm water to remove dirt and natural oils that could interfere with the spinning process. The spinning of wool into yarn is a task that occupies many of the long winter evenings, as family members gather around the central fire with their drop spindles and spinning wheels, creating the threads that will eventually become their next year's clothing. The rhythmic motion of spinning becomes almost hypnotic, a meditative practice that allows the mind to wander while the hands perform the familiar movements that have been passed down through generations of northern craftspeople. The sound of the spinning wheel creates a gentle background rhythm that mingles with the crackling of the fire and the quiet conversations that flow naturally during these peaceful evening sessions. Once sufficient yarn has been created, the process of weaving begins on looms that are constructed from local wood and designed to create the specific types of fabric needed for different garments. The Vikings used both vertical and horizontal looms, each type optimized for particular kinds of weaving projects, and the setup of these looms becomes a family affair that requires careful planning and cooperation. The warp threads, which run lengthwise on the loom, are measured and tensioned with precision that would impress modern textile workers, while the weft threads are woven through in patterns that create not only functional fabrics, but also decorative designs that reflect the artistic sensibilities of their creators. The actual weaving process becomes another form of winter meditation, as the rhythmic passing of the shuttle back and forth through the warp creates a steady cadence that seems to echo the heartbeat of the longhouse itself. Astrid sits at her loom for hours each day during the darkest months of winter, her movements smooth and economical as she creates fabrics that will clothe her family through the coming year. The patterns she weaves tell stories with subtle variations in color and texture that represent elements of her family's history, the landscape around their home, or the mythological tales that form the foundation of their cultural identity. The treatment and finishing of woven fabrics requires additional skills that transform raw cloth into garments capable of protecting their wearers in the harshest conditions. Fulling, the process of controlled shrinkage that creates dense, windproof wool fabric, is accomplished through a combination of moisture, heat, and mechanical action that must be carefully monitored to achieve the desired results without damaging the material. The fabric is soaked in warm water and then worked by hand or foot, with family members taking turns at the labor-intensive process that gradually causes the individual wool fibers to lock together into a tight, weather-resistant surface. Dyeing of fabrics provides both practical and aesthetic benefits, with colors that help camouflage the wearer in the winter landscape while also serving as a means of personal and family expression. The Vikings extracted dyes from local plants, minerals, and other natural sources, creating colors that range from subtle earth tones to vibrant reds and blues that seem to glow even in the dim light of the winter longhouse. The knowledge of which plants provide which colors and how to process them to create lasting dyes that will not fade or run represents a sophisticated understanding of chemistry that rivals many modern processes. The actual construction of garments from finished fabric requires tailoring skills that ensure each piece of clothing fits properly and provides maximum warmth and comfort for its intended wearer. Viking clothing is cut and sewn with careful attention to the way the human body moves and the areas where stress and wear are most likely to occur. Seams are reinforced with additional stitching or strips of leather, while areas subject to heavy wear are doubled or backed with extra layers of fabric that extend the life of the garment without compromising its appearance or function. The sewing itself is done with thread that has been specially prepared for durability and strength, often consisting of multiple strands of spun yarn that are twisted together to create cords capable of withstanding the stresses placed on seams during active wear. Needles carved from bone or antler provide the fine points necessary for detailed work, while larger needles made from metal are reserved for heavy-duty construction tasks. The stitching patterns used in Viking garments serve both functional and decorative purposes, with some seams sewn in ways that actually become stronger when subjected to stress, while others create visual elements that enhance the beauty of the finished piece. Beyond the practical considerations of warmth and durability, Viking winter clothing also serves important social and cultural functions within the community. The quality of a person's clothing reflects not only their personal wealth and status, but also the skill and dedication of the family members who created their garments. A beautifully woven cloak or intricately embroidered tunic becomes a source of pride for the entire household, demonstrating their mastery of traditional crafts and their commitment to maintaining the high standards that have been passed down through their ancestors. The care and maintenance of winter clothing represents an ongoing responsibility that extends throughout the cold season and beyond, with regular cleaning, repair, and storage procedures that ensure each garment provides many years of service. Viking families developed sophisticated methods for cleaning wool garments without damaging their water-resistant properties, using natural soaps and careful temperature control to remove dirt and odors while preserving the essential oils that help repel moisture. Repairs are made promptly when damage occurs, with patches and reinforcements applied using techniques that strengthen the garment while maintaining its appearance and function. During the longest nights of winter, when outdoor work is impossible and the family gathers closely around the central fire, the creation and maintenance of clothing becomes a social activity that strengthens family bonds while accomplishing essential tasks. Children learn by watching and gradually participating in simpler aspects of textile work, developing the skills they will need to clothe their own families in years to come. Stories are shared during these evening work sessions with elders, passing down not only practical knowledge about crafting techniques, but also cultural wisdom about the meaning and significance of different patterns colors, and construction methods. The Viking approach to heating their living spaces extends far beyond the central hearth, incorporating a sophisticated understanding of thermal dynamics and air circulation that creates comfortable environments, even during the most brutal winter weather. Secondary heating sources throughout the longhouse provide localized warmth for specific activities, while also serving as backup systems in case the main fire encounters problems. Small braziers filled with glowing coals can be moved to different areas as needed, providing focused heat for detailed work or additional warmth for family members who may be feeling particularly cold. The strategic placement of reflective surfaces helps maximize the effectiveness of every fire by directing heat toward living and working areas rather than allowing it to escape uselessly into unused portions of the longhouse. Polished metal shields or sheets of hammered copper are positioned behind heating sources to reflect radiant heat back into the room, while carefully arranged stones and clay tiles absorb heat during periods of active burning and slowly release it over many hours. These thermal mass elements continue to warm the air long after the flames have died down, extending the effective heating period of each load of fuel. The management of combustion air and smoke removal represents another area where Viking engineering expertise becomes apparent, with systems that provide adequate oxygen for clean burning while minimizing heat loss through ventilation openings. The central hearth is designed with carefully calculated air intakes that draw fresh oxygen from outside the living space, while smoke exits through openings that can be adjusted according to wind conditions and burning intensity. During severe weather, when outdoor air temperatures drop far below zero, this fresh air is pre-warmed by passing it through channels that run close to the heated thermal mass of the hearth, ensuring that combustion air does not cool the interior space when it enters the fire. The Vikings also understood the importance of humidity control in maintaining comfort during the dry winter months, when heated air can become uncomfortably dry and cause health problems for the occupants of the longhouse. Large vessels of water are kept near heating sources, where gentle evaporation adds moisture to the air while also serving as a readily available supply of warm water for cooking and cleaning. Wet clothes and other damp items are strategically hung near fires where they dry slowly while contributing humidity to the indoor environment, creating a natural system that maintains air moisture at comfortable levels. The selection and preparation of fuel for the long winter months requires extensive planning and physical labor that begins in early summer and continues until the first snows make wood gathering impossible. Eric and his family understand that their survival depends not only on having sufficient fuel, but also on having the right types of wood for different heating needs throughout the winter. Hardwoods like oak and ash provide long-burning coals that maintain steady heat throughout the night, while softwoods like pine and fir ignite quickly and provide intense flames for cooking and rapid warming when family members return from outdoor tasks. The process of harvesting winter fuel begins with the careful selection of trees, choosing specimens that have been naturally seasoned by wind and weather, or that show signs of disease or damage that make them suitable for cutting without harming the health of the forest. Each tree is evaluated not only for the quantity of wood it will provide, but also for the quality of that wood. with different parts of each tree designated for specific uses based on their density, moisture content, and burning characteristics. The trunk provides the largest pieces for overnight burning, while branches in smaller sections are reserved for kindling and quick burning applications. The actual cutting and processing of fuel wood becomes a family activity that combines necessary work with opportunities for teaching younger family members essential skills they will need throughout their lives. The rhythm of axes biting into wood creates a steady cadence that echoes across the landscape, while the sounds of saws cutting through tough fibers provide a counterpoint that speaks of progress and preparation. Each piece of wood must be cut to appropriate lengths for the hearth, split to optimal sizes for efficient burning, and stacked in configurations that allow air circulation while protecting the fuel from rain and snow. The seasoning of fuel wood requires patience and understanding of how moisture content affects burning efficiency and heat output. Fresh-cut wood contains high levels of water that must be removed through natural drying before the wood can burn cleanly and efficiently. The Vikings developed sophisticated stacking methods that maximize air circulation around each piece of wood while protecting the entire stack from precipitation that could interfere with the drying process. These wood piles become architectural features in their own right, with carefully constructed foundations that keep the bottom layer off the ground and slanted, roofs that shed rain and snow while allowing air to flow freely through the stack. The storage of seasoned fuel wood requires facilities that protect this valuable resource from moisture while keeping it easily accessible during the winter months when deep snow and severe weather can make movement difficult. Wood sheds attached to or built near the longhouse provide covered storage that allows family members to gather fuel without venturing far from the warmth and safety of their home. These structures are designed with open sides that permit air circulation while providing protection from direct precipitation, creating microclimates that maintain optimal moisture levels in the stored wood during the winter months. The daily ritual of selecting and preparing fuel becomes a meditative practice that connects family members with the natural rhythms of combustion and heat generation. Each morning, someone must venture to the woodshed to select the appropriate types and quantities of fuel for the day ahead, considering factors such as anticipated weather conditions, planned activities, and the current state of the fire. This daily wood gathering becomes an opportunity for quiet reflection and planning, a few moments of solitude in the midst of the close quarters of winter family life. The arrangement of fuel around the hearth follows principles that ensure safety, while maximizing convenience and efficiency during the long hours of fire tending that occupy much of each winter day. Different types of wood are sorted and stored in designated areas around the fire, with kindling kept and easily accessible. Containers that protect it from moisture while keeping it within arm's reach of the person tending the fire. Larger pieces for overnight burning are stacked nearby, but not so close that they present fire hazards, while intermediate sizes for daytime heating are arranged in configurations that allow quick selection without disturbing the overall organization of the fuel supply. The art of fire building and maintenance represents one of the most critical skills for winter survival, requiring knowledge that extends far beyond simply lighting wood and keeping it burning. Viking fire tenders understand how to create different types of fires for specific purposes, with techniques that maximize heat output, minimize smoke production, and ensure consistent burning throughout extended periods. The construction of the fire itself follows principles that promote efficient combustion while creating the thermal conditions needed for different household activities. The foundation of any successful fire begins with the careful preparation of the hearth area, ensuring that combustion air can flow freely while heat is captured and directed where it is needed most. The bed of the fire is prepared with materials that will burn cleanly and provide a stable base for larger fuel pieces, while the arrangement of initial kindling follows patterns that create natural air circulation and promote rapid ignition of successive fuel layers. The Vikings developed sophisticated understanding of how different wood species interact when burned together, combining fast-burning and slow-burning varieties to create fires that provide both immediate heat and long-lasting warmth. The management of a fire throughout the day requires constant attention and adjustment, with techniques that maintain optimal burning conditions while conserving fuel and preventing dangerous flare-ups or dangerous reduction in heat output. The position of fuel pieces within the fire affects both the intensity and distribution of heat, with experienced fire tenders able to create zones of different temperatures within the same hearth to accommodate various cooking and heating needs. Simultaneously, the timing of fuel additions becomes a carefully orchestrated process that maintains consistent heat levels while avoiding the waste that comes from burning more wood than necessary. During the night hours, when family members must sleep but heating cannot be interrupted, special techniques are employed to create long-burning fires that provide steady warmth throughout the dark hours without requiring constant attention. Large hardwood logs are arranged in configurations that burn slowly and steadily, creating beds of coals that radiate heat for many hours while producing minimal flames that could pose fire hazards in the unattended longhouse. These overnight fires are carefully banked with ash and positioned to minimize air circulation, creating conditions that sustain combustion at reduced levels while maintaining the thermal mass needed for morning fire rebuilding. The revival of morning fires from the carefully preserved coals of the previous night becomes a daily ritual that requires skill and understanding of combustion principles. The process begins with the gentle removal of ash and debris that may have accumulated over the coal bed during the night, followed by the careful addition of dry kindling that will ignite from the residual heat without smothering the precious coals underneath. The gradual building of the morning fire follows techniques that maximize the heat energy contained in the surviving coals while quickly establishing the strong flames needed for cooking and daytime heating. The integration of cooking and heating functions within the same fire system represents another area where Viking efficiency becomes apparent, with techniques that accomplish multiple tasks while minimizing fuel consumption and labor. Cooking vessels are positioned to take advantage of different heat zones within the fire, with items requiring intense heat placed directly over flames while foods needing gentler cooking are positioned where they receive steady radiant heat from hot coals. The timing of cooking activities is coordinated with heating needs, ensuring that the fire provides optimal conditions for food preparation while maintaining comfortable temperatures in the living space. The preparation of hot beverages becomes particularly important during the winter months, providing not only warmth and comfort, but also essential nutrition and hydration that supports the body's efforts to maintain temperature in cold conditions. The Vikings developed sophisticated brewing and preparation techniques that created beverages rich in calories and nutrients, drinks that provide both immediate warming effects and sustained energy for the demands of winter life. These hot drinks are prepared in vessels that retain heat for extended periods, allowing family members to sip warming liquids throughout the day without requiring constant reheating. The social aspects of fire tending and fuel management create opportunities for family bonding and skill sharing that strengthen relationships while accomplishing essential survival tasks. Children learn fire safety and maintenance techniques through careful observation and gradual participation, developing the knowledge and confidence they will need to maintain their own fires in future years. The evening hours around the fire become times for storytelling and discussion, when the day's activities are reviewed and plans for tomorrow are discussed in the warm glow of the flames. Psychological and emotional benefits of a well-maintained fire extend far beyond its practical heating function, providing a focal point for family life that creates feelings of security and continuity, even during the most challenging winter conditions. The hypnotic dance of flames and the comforting sounds of burning wood create a sensory environment that promotes relaxation and contemplation, while the shared responsibility of fire maintenance creates bonds of cooperation and mutual dependence that strengthen family unity. The fire becomes a symbol of home and safety, a beacon of warmth and light that represents the family's ability to create comfort and security, even in the harshest natural conditions. The Viking understanding of nutrition during winter months reflects a sophisticated knowledge of how the human body responds to cold stress, with dietary practices that provide the calories and nutrients needed to maintain body temperature, while supporting overall health during the challenging season. The caloric requirements for survival in extreme cold are significantly higher than those needed in temperate conditions, and Viking food preparation and consumption patterns are carefully designed to meet these increased energy demands while making the most efficient use of available food supplies. The morning meal in Eric's household sets the nutritional foundation for the day ahead, with foods that provide sustained energy release and the essential fats needed for internal heat generation. A typical winter breakfast might include thick porridge made from oats or barley that has been slowly cooked overnight in a pot suspended over the carefully banked coals of the hearth. This porridge is enriched with butter, honey, and pieces of dried fruit that provide concentrated sources of calories and nutrients, while the slow cooking process creates a creamy, warming texture that feels satisfying and comforting on cold winter mornings. The addition of fermented dairy products to the morning meal provides probiotics and nutrients that support digestive health and immune function during the months when fresh foods are scarce and the body faces increased stress from environmental conditions. Cultured butter, aged cheeses, and fermented milk products contain beneficial bacteria that aid in the absorption of nutrients from other foods while contributing their own nutritional value to the diet. These fermented foods also provide the tangy, complex flavors that make simple grain-based meals more interesting and appealing, encouraging family members to consume the quantities of food needed to maintain their energy levels. The midday meal during winter typically consists of hearty stews and soups that combine preserved meats with stored vegetables and grains, creating one-pot meals that maximize nutritional value while minimizing fuel consumption and preparation time. These substantial meals are designed to provide the energy needed for afternoon activities while warming the body from within through the consumption of hot, nutrient-dense foods. The long, slow cooking process that characterizes these winter meals breaks down tough fibers in preserved foods and creates rich, flavorful broths that provide both calories and essential minerals. The evening meal represents the most substantial food consumption of the day, with larger portions and richer foods that help the body prepare for the long, cold night ahead. This meal often includes freshly baked bread made from carefully hoarded stores of grain, providing carbohydrates that fuel the body's heat generation processes while offering the psychological comfort that comes from the aroma and taste of fresh bread. The bread is often enriched with nuts, seeds, and dried fruits that increase its caloric density and nutritional value, while the act of bread making itself adds warmth and humidity to the longhouse environment. The preservation and storage of these fats represents a critical aspect of Viking winter nutrition, as these concentrated energy sources provide more than twice the calories per gram compared to carbohydrates or proteins. Animal fats rendered from autumn slaughter are carefully processed and stored in ways that prevent rancidity while maintaining their nutritional value throughout the winter months. These fats are used not only for cooking, but also consumed directly as high-energy foods that help maintain body temperature during the coldest periods of winter. The Vikings developed sophisticated techniques for preserving fish and marine foods, creating protein sources that remain safe and nutritious throughout the winter while providing essential nutrients that are difficult to obtain from land-based foods alone. Fish are cleaned, salted, and dried using methods that remove moisture while preserving the natural oils that contain omega-3 fatty acids and other compounds essential for maintaining health in cold climates. These preserved fish can be eaten directly as concentrated protein snacks or incorporated into stews and other cooked dishes where they provide both flavor and nutrition. Fermented fish products represent another important category of winter foods, created through controlled bacterial processes that break down proteins into easily digestible forms, while producing unique flavors that add variety to the winter diet. These fermented fish preparations provide complete proteins containing all essential amino acids, while the fermentation process creates additional nutrients and compounds that support digestive health and immune function. The strong flavors of fermented fish products make them excellent seasonings for other foods, allowing small quantities to enhance the taste and nutritional value of larger meals. The preparation and consumption of bone broth provides a warming, nutritious foundation for many winter meals while making efficient use of animal bones that might otherwise be discarded. Long, slow cooking extracts minerals, collagen, and other beneficial compounds from bones, creating nutrient-dense liquids that serve as bases for soups and stews or can be consumed directly as warming beverages. These broths provide essential minerals, like calcium and phosphorus, while supplying the amino acids needed for maintaining muscle mass and supporting immune function during the stressful winter months. The Vikings recognized the importance of maintaining vitamin C intake during winter to prevent scurvy and support overall health, developing preservation techniques that maintain the nutritional value of vitamin-rich foods throughout the cold season. Fermented vegetables, sprouted grains, and carefully stored root vegetables provide sources of this essential nutrient, while the consumption of organ meats from preserved animals contributes additional vitamins and minerals that are concentrated in these nutrient-dense tissues. The knowledge of which foods provide essential nutrients and how to preserve their nutritional value represents a sophisticated understanding of nutrition that rivals modern dietary science. Herbal teas and medicinal preparations play important roles in Viking winter nutrition, providing both warming beverages and therapeutic compounds that support health during the challenging winter months. Knowledge of local medicinal plants and their preparation techniques allows families to create warming drinks that provide vitamin C, antioxidants, and other beneficial compounds while offering the psychological comfort of hot, flavorful beverages. These herbal preparations are often sweetened with honey, which provides additional calories and antimicrobial compounds that support immune system function. The social aspects of winter meal preparation and consumption create important opportunities for family bonding and cultural transmission as recipes, techniques, and food knowledge are passed down through generations during the long winter evenings spent around the hearth. Cooking becomes a collaborative activity that involves multiple family members in food preparation, while meals themselves become social events that strengthen family relationships and provide structured time for discussion and planning. The sharing of food during winter creates bonds of mutual dependence and cooperation that help families survive the psychological challenges of isolation and confinement. The timing and frequency of meals during winter reflects an understanding of how the body's metabolism responds to cold stress, with eating patterns that provide steady fuel for heat generation, while accommodating the reduced daylight hours and altered activity patterns of the winter season. Rather than following rigid meal schedules, Viking families often consume food in smaller, more frequent portions that provide steady energy, without overwhelming the digestive system or creating periods of low blood sugar that could compromise the body's ability to maintain temperature. The psychological importance of food variety and flavor during the long winter months cannot be underestimated, as the limited selection of available foods can create monotony that affects both physical and mental health. Viking preservation techniques are designed not only to maintain food safety and nutritional value, but also to create diverse flavors and textures that make winter meals more interesting and appealing. The use of herbs, spices, and fermentation creates complex flavor profiles that provide sensory stimulation and psychological satisfaction even when the basic ingredients remain relatively unchanged. The storage and organization of winter food supplies requires careful planning and management to ensure that the most perishable items are consumed first, while longer-lasting foods are reserved for the deepest winter months. This rotation system prevents waste while ensuring that the family's nutritional needs are met throughout the entire winter season. The regular inspection and maintenance of food stores becomes a daily routine that helps family members monitor their supply levels and adjust consumption patterns to ensure that food lasts until spring brings new sources of fresh nutrition. The integration of food preparation with heating systems maximizes efficiency while creating warm, humid conditions that improve comfort during the dry winter months. Cooking fires provide not only the heat needed for food preparation but also contribute to space heating and humidity control, while the aromas of cooking food create psychological benefits that improve mood and reduce the stress associated with winter confinement. The kitchen area becomes the warm heart of the longhouse, where family members naturally gather for both nutritional and social sustenance. As the winter night deepens around Eric's longhouse, and the family settles in for another evening of warmth and companionship, the accumulated wisdom of generations becomes apparent in every aspect of their comfortable survival. The fire burns steadily in its stone-lined hearth, casting dancing shadows on the walls while radiating the heat that keeps the longhouse cozy despite the howling wind outside. Family members move quietly about their evening routines, adding layers of woolen clothing as they prepare for sleep, checking the food stores one final time and ensuring that the fire is properly banked for the long night ahead. The evening routines in the Viking longhouse follow patterns that have been refined over countless generations, rituals that prepare both body and mind for the restorative sleep that is essential for surviving another day in the harsh northern climate. As darkness settles completely over the landscape and the temperature outside drops to levels that would be dangerous for unprotected humans, the family gathers around their central hearth for the final activities of the day, their faces glowing in the warm light of the flames while their voices create a gentle murmur of conversation that mingles with the crackling of burning wood. Astrid moves quietly around the longhouse, checking each sleeping area to ensure that blankets and furs are properly arranged for maximum warmth and comfort throughout the night ahead. She adjusts the thick woolen coverings that will trap body heat close to each sleeper, while ensuring that air circulation is not completely blocked, allowing for the gentle breathing that prevents dangerous buildup of carbon dioxide in the enclosed sleeping spaces. Her movements are practiced and efficient, the result of years of experience in creating optimal sleeping conditions that will allow her family to rest deeply and awaken refreshed despite the extreme cold that surrounds their warm sanctuary. The children of the family participate in their own evening preparations, adding extra layers of soft woolen undergarments that will provide warmth throughout the night while remaining comfortable against their skin. These nighttime garments are specially designed for sleeping, with loose fits that allow for natural movement during rest, while creating air pockets that enhance insulation. The children's sleeping areas are positioned strategically within the longhouse to take maximum advantage of heat from the central fire while being protected from drafts that might disturb their sleep or compromise their warmth during the coldest hours before dawn. Eric tends to the evening fire with the careful attention of someone who understands that the family's survival depends on maintaining heat throughout the long night ahead. He selects pieces of dense hardwood that will burn slowly and steadily, creating the long-lasting coals that will continue to radiate warmth for many hours after the flames have subsided. The arrangement of these logs follows principles that maximize heat output while minimizing the risk of dangerous flare-ups that could threaten the sleeping family, with each piece of wood positioned to burn completely while contributing to the overall thermal mass of the fire. The process of banking the fire for the night involves covering the burning logs with a carefully controlled layer of ash that restricts airflow and slows the combustion process, creating conditions that sustain heat production at reduced levels throughout the dark hours. This technique requires precise judgment about the amount of ash to use and exactly where to place it, as too much coverage could extinguish the fire completely, while too little would allow it to burn too quickly and consume fuel that might be needed for the morning fire revival. The banked fire glows softly beneath its ash covering, like a sleeping dragon that breathes warmth into the longhouse while the family rests peacefully nearby. The final food preparations of the evening often include the setting up of slow-cooking meals that will simmer gently throughout the night, ready to provide warm, nourishing food for the morning meal. Large pots containing stews or porridges are positioned at optimal distances from the fire, where they will receive steady heat that maintains gentle cooking temperatures without risk of burning or boiling over. These overnight cooking projects maximize fuel efficiency while ensuring that hot food is available immediately upon waking, providing the calories and warmth needed to begin another day in the challenging winter environment. The sound environment of the longhouse at night creates a symphony of gentle noises that speak of safety, warmth, and security despite the harsh conditions outside. The fire settles and shifts quietly as logs burn through and coals redistribute themselves, creating soft sounds that provide reassurance of continued heat without disturbing sleep. The wind outside may howl and whistle around the sturdy walls, but these sounds only emphasize the contrast between the harsh external environment and the protected warmth within, creating a sense of gratitude and contentment that promotes deep, restful sleep. The thick walls and carefully sealed construction of the longhouse create an acoustic environment that filters out the most disturbing external sounds while allowing the gentle, comforting noises of the fire and the quiet breathing of sleeping family members to provide a peaceful background that promotes relaxation. The thermal mass of the stone hearth and the wooden walls continues to radiate stored heat throughout the night, creating subtle temperature variations that the sleeping body responds to naturally, adjusting position and covering to maintain optimal comfort without fully awakening. The gradual cooling of the longhouse during the night follows patterns that the family has learned to accommodate, with sleeping arrangements that provide progressively warmer microclimates for those who are most sensitive to cold. The positioning of sleeping areas takes advantage of natural air circulation patterns within the structure, ensuring that the warmest air settles where it is most needed, while cooler air is directed away from sleeping areas toward spaces where it will not disturb rest. This natural thermal management creates conditions that support deep sleep while minimizing the body's energy expenditure on heat production during the restorative hours of darkness. The dreams that visit the sleeping family often reflect the rhythms and concerns of their winter life, with peaceful visions of spring warmth and summer abundance, providing psychological balance to the challenges of surviving the cold season. These dreams serve important psychological functions, allowing the mind to process the day's experiences while providing hope and anticipation for the warmer seasons that will eventually return. The secure warmth of the longhouse creates ideal conditions for the deep sleep that supports both physical recovery and mental health during the stressful winter months. The pre-dawn hours represent the coldest time of the entire day, when temperatures reach their lowest point and the fire has burned down to its minimal sustainable level. During these quiet hours, the thermal mass of the longhouse provides the primary source of heat, slowly releasing the energy that was stored during the previous day's active burning. The family sleeps deeply during this time, their bodies conserving energy while the carefully designed structure protects them from the extreme cold that grips the landscape outside their warm sanctuary. The first stirrings of morning begin not with jarring alarm calls, but with a natural awakening that comes when the body has received sufficient rest and begins to prepare for another day. Family members wake gradually, remaining beneath their warm covers while assessing the temperature and conditions within the longhouse. The morning fire revival begins with careful movements that disturb the sleeping household as little as possible, with experienced hands working quietly to rebuild flames from the carefully preserved coals of the previous evening. The morning light, when it finally appears through the small windows of the longhouse, reveals a world transformed by winter, with snow covering every surface and ice decorating the bare branches of trees with delicate crystal formations. But within the longhouse, warmth and comfort continue uninterrupted, testament to the effectiveness of Viking winter survival techniques that have sustained northern peoples through countless generations. The family awakens to another day of security and warmth, ready to face whatever challenges the winter weather may bring while maintaining the comfortable lifestyle that their ancestors developed through centuries of experience with Arctic conditions. The cycle of winter days and nights continues with reassuring predictability, each one bringing the family closer to the eventual return of spring, while demonstrating their mastery of the techniques needed to thrive in one of Earth's most challenging environments. The longhouse stands as a monument to human ingenuity and adaptation, a warm haven that proves that with knowledge, preparation, and cooperation, even the harshest conditions can be not merely survived, but lived through with comfort and dignity. As we reach the end of our journey through the Viking winter night, take a moment to appreciate the warmth that surrounds you right now, wherever you may be resting. Feel the softness of your blankets, the comfort of your pillow, and the security of your own warm shelter. Like Eric and Astrid and their children settling into their peaceful sleep within their carefully heated longhouse, you too are safe and warm, protected from whatever weather may exist outside your own walls. Let the gentle wisdom of the Vikings guide you into your own restful sleep, knowing that generations of human ingenuity have led to the comfort you enjoy tonight. Allow your breathing to slow naturally, your muscles to relax completely, and your mind to drift peacefully into the restorative sleep that will prepare you for tomorrow's adventures, just as it prepared countless Viking families for thousands of winter days and nights in their northern homeland. Sleep well and dream of the eternal human capacity to create warmth, comfort, and security even in the most challenging circumstances that nature can provide.